Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you're having a good day today so far. Hope you had a good weekend. Mine was not eventful at all. I just spent Saturday I worked. Very slow day. I think maybe graduations are probably slowing things down. People are doing that. Maybe summer vacations, if anybody can actually still afford one. But I did spend Sunday relaxing and watching YouTube. And I found a new YouTube channel accidentally. I don't even know how it popped up into my algorithm. It's really weird because I've never watched anything like that before. But it's called the Institute of Human Anatomy. And it's these two guys. And they use cadavers to talk about different things. And they'll show you on the cadaver, like, just exactly how drowning, the 4 stages of drowning, what happens to your body if you're drowning, and the non-fatal drownings and fatal drownings, and just different things, like what can ibuprofen if you take too much do to your body, or Tylenol. And I've learned a whole lot, and I was like just telling my dad and them, because my dad takes Tylenol for his knee pain, and he alters it with ibuprofen, and if you take it, the dose that is recommended, you should be fine. But, there's always those cases that even regardless of you taking it properly, the older you are, things start to not work normally anymore in your body, just because with age it deteriorates and things like that. And so I was just telling him, maybe you should be careful. Even if you're taking the right amount, maybe you should try and take less. Because just what I learned about what, like, Tylenol can, hurt your liver. And I know firsthand that ibuprofen can cause peptic ulcers. So, but I learned a lot. And they're probably getting tired of me telling all these different stories about what I'm learning about the human body. But it's very fascinating. And it got me thinking, and I'll just tell this really quick and then jump into it. But it got me thinking, when they're sitting there explaining how this does that, and then this regulates that, and it works alongside with this, and then if this didn't happen, then this wouldn't happen. And I sit there and think about people who don't believe that we're specially created by somebody, by God, right? And that some people don't believe in creation, and they believe in evolution. And if you would just sit down and watch just a few of these videos and listen to them explain these things about how our body works, there is no way you could deny a special design, because it's complex, it's intricate, and it's not happenstance. It just didn't happen to end up that way. It was made that way. And you can clearly see that when you're watching these videos and learning about how your body works. And it's really fascinating. So I think I'll keep watching those videos. I really like them. And if I come across any video that's super interesting, then maybe I'll share the details about that. But for now, just go check it out. It is really fun to watch. It truly is. And they're fun to watch. They make it very interesting. It's not boring at all. I think Jonathan and Brandon are their names. So I think my favorite to watch is Jonathan when he makes videos. And I even watched him do a 4-part series on the female reproductive system, and that was pretty interesting. Not that I've had kids, but you don't know exactly how it all works unless you're a doctor. You just know that you're pregnant, right? But to go through all of it and the estrogen levels and just all the different things that happen in order to get pregnant is just really fascinating. I don't know. Anyway, so y'all should go check that out, because I think maybe some people would really enjoy that. And also, I used to do an audio part to this, and I don't know what's wrong with the Anchor that I use to record for the audio part, but anytime, I don't know if it's working, and I don't know if it's because they shut down my original podcast and I made a new link for one, and maybe, I don't know. So I stopped doing the audio part because, I don't like it. And so I was looking for a new software to record for audio only. And I came across an app that I downloaded, and Jana and I yesterday recorded a podcast, and we were talking about the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial and just putting our 2 cents in, and talking about some interesting things that have come up. And now there's no way on that app to upload it to like Spotify or anything like that. You have to do it manually, and I don't know how to do that. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that, because I used to do that on this podcast with the audio part every Sunday. But if we're going to do that, I wanted to separate it. That way, one is for what I normally do, which is political and cultural. And then the other one, it can be for just random stuff on Sundays. So I'm looking and trying to figure out how to do that. And eventually, I'll do it. Anyway, let's read today's daily promise. Says, as one whom his mother comforteth, so will I comfort you, and ye shall be comforted in Jerusalem. Isaiah 66:13. When the circumstances of life loom fierce and threaten to beat us down, when the seeming futility of our earthly endeavors brings sorrow oppressive, our God will be a comfort to us. He promises consolation. He promises to heal our hearts. He promises us strength and faith. He is our God, and He is good. Okay. Oh, by the way, I ordered a book. I've been seeing these sponsors on like Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh for a very long time from 40 Days for Life. And they have a book called What to Say When. And it's how it breaks down all the different pro-abortion arguments. And it teaches you how to argue those points. But not just to argue them, but to also try and change minds while doing so. I haven't started reading it yet because I just got it in the mail, but I'll let y'all know what that's like in case anybody has seen those as well and was maybe interested or thinking about it. Because I think anytime we can be taught how to argue our side of things in a good way to actually get our point across and to know what you're arguing for, I think that's always good. And that's not just on abortion. That's on gun control laws or anything like that. You should always know how to argue your side. And you should always be learning how to do that. So, I just thought I'd mention that really quickly. Let's talk about... That's not it. I saw this, and I don't know anything about what this is about, but apparently the CNN CHYRON accidentally exposed the truth about the Democrats' abortion stance with only 10 words. And y'all know that I love reading articles from Louder with Crowder, especially when Brodigan writes them because they're hilarious. So let's read it. And it says, Democrats support abortion up until birth. They're not supposed to say that out loud. They're supposed to say it's a birthing person's right to choose, then run away before you ask them when life begins. But when the Democratic Party votes in unison to eliminate any abortion restriction, that's what they're saying. Democrats are also not supposed to admit it's aborting a child, but Joe Biden can't shut up. Democrats aren't supposed to say so out loud, and their supporters and corporate media are supposed to circle the wagons. That's why it's both shocking and refreshing to see CNN do NYC Mayor Eric Adams dirty like this. So there's a video. I guess, yeah, we'll watch it. Maybe they won't claim it if I talk over it, maybe. Hopefully.
Ardent supporter of abortion rights, and I want to play an exchange where you talked about this. Let's listen.
Mayor Adams, do you think there should be any limitation on abortion?
No, I do not.
None, day of birth, totally fine?
No, I do not think. I think women should have a right to choose their bodies. Men should not have that right to choose how women should treat their bodies.
It is interesting. A poll that just came out this morning, NPR Marist, says the vast majority of Americans do not support overturning Roe versus Wade, but a majority, including a majority of Democrats, does believe that there could or should be some restrictions in when during a pregnancy. That could be. You say no restrictions at all.
No, I say, and I continue to say, and I stand by this, women should determine what they're going to do with their bodies.
Okay, I can't because it's not their body. This is it's an argument that they're always making. I have a right to choose what to do with my body, but it's not your body. And they know that. They know that that is a completely separate body, and it is not your right to murder that child. It's not your right. If you don't want to get pregnant, don't sleep around. And if you get pregnant, suck it up and take your responsibilities like a grown person, like an adult should do. That's all. It's that simple. And I hate the arguments, well, what if they're poor? Well, I didn't grow up in a rich family. My dad supported 6 people on a very menial job for hourly pay. And guess what? We're all fine. We grew up, we had the things we need, we had food, and we're here today and we're fine. So this whole, well, what if they're poor? Baloney. If you really want to accept the responsibility that comes along with having sex, you will figure it out. That's like what most people do. Anyway. A picture is worth 1,000 words, and I'm assuming it means Eric Adams, women have a right to abortions up until date of birth, is what the CHYRON says. The mayor's full quote is, so women should determine what they're going to do with their bodies. I strongly believe that, and I'm not taking a Gallup poll to make that determination. It is something I believe from seeing the women who are in my life, my mother that passed away, my 2 sisters and others. They should make the determination on what they're going to do with their bodies. CNN summarized it accurately, and it's still amazing someone at CNN summarized it accurately, but it's always important to have the source material. One can only hope Democrats plan to campaign on that for the next few months. Once they leave Park Slope, San Francisco, and Chicago, they're going to soon discover abortion up until birth is not the popular opinion ultra-radical leftists think it is. And it actually isn't. And in fact, a lot of people are okay with Roe v. Wade being overturned because there are people that aren't insane leftists, even people that are like center left, understand that Roe v. Wade just means giving it back to the states. And there are quite a few Americans that understand that Roe v. Wade was just bad law in the first place. So I don't think it's a good campaign maneuver to be campaigning on killing a child right before it's born. That is not, a lot of people think that there should be limitations. And when you ask them, well, what about when you detect a heartbeat? Should that be the limitation? And a lot of people have agreed, yes, once there is a separate heartbeat, there should be no chance of you being able to get an abortion after that, because you now know that that is a living person and it can be proven by the second heartbeat in the body. And a lot of people believe that. They just won't tell you that. Okay. Let's talk about Elon Musk really quickly. Well, no, let's save Elon Musk for last because that's a bit of a different story. The Pfizer CEO has come out with a pill with a computer chip that alerts authorities that you've taken medicine. And I'm assuming he said, imagine the compliance. I don't think so. I don't think so. And I tweeted this out on Twitter that people are not going to fall for the new pandemic of monkeypox. I'm not going to be locked down. I wasn't locked down to begin with. I didn't follow. I didn't comply. But people are not going to be locked down again. People are not going to be, forced to get vaccines. They're just not going to put up with it a second time, especially not in the South. I can guarantee that. But then someone else tweeted out that they think that monkeypox is being used as a cover for something that is happening to people who have gotten the Fauci ouchies to begin with. I can't say that's true or not because there's no evidence of that, but it's an interesting theory, and I haven't heard anyone else talk about it. Also, something I haven't still heard any conservatives talking about yet is the WHO pandemic treaty. Not one conservative. I think Elijah Schaffer briefly mentioned it on his show on Friday, but didn't go into it. Other than that, I've heard nobody talking about it, and I'm trying to figure out why. I've tweeted people, Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro, asking people, hey, why are y'all not looking into this? Where is the information? Nothing. No responses, nothing. I don't get it. Anyway, this one was by Joseph Gunderson. You thought we were past the medical tyranny stage of this dystopian timeline, but you were wrong. In fact, with the new outbreak of monkeypox, I'm guessing we're just getting started, and the governments of the world aren't about to make the same newbie mistakes as they did this last go-around. They're going to come in hard and fast, turn that totalitarian dial up to 10 and break off the knob. What new tool will our government put into place to help them? Well, it might be something like a pill that reports back to them that you've taken your mandated medications. Big brother in your belly. That's the wave of the future in medical tyranny technology. And probably the way that they are going to force you to take this pill is to sign up with the WHO pandemic treaty, where the WHO will then be able to come into your country and decide all of the health benefits for locking you down or taking a pill, and they will be in control of anything that's health related in that country. So you basically lose sovereignty of your country. I can't remember what country it was, the leader of the country, it was on Twitter, that said he is not signing the WHO pandemic treaty. And I'm like, yeah, and our government probably will, and it's not going to end well. You don't have to believe me when I say it. Listen to Pfizer's CEO, Albert Bourla, explain it to his friends at the World Economic Forum. Of course, it's at the WEF. And supposedly that's where the WHO pandemic treaty thing is being brought together, is in Davos, like they do with the World Economic Forum. So
it is basically biological chip that it is in the tablet. And once you take the tablet and dissolves into your stomach, sends a signal that you took the tablet. So imagine the applications of that, compliance. The insurance companies to know that the medicines that patients should take, they do take them. It is fascinating what happens in this field.
So does it have something to do with like the stomach acid that makes this alert go out, or could you just like put it in water like to show it dissolved? That'd be interesting if there's a way around it. Anyway, where else would the head of a corporation who aided the government in restricting our liberties give such a talk than the WEF? The World Elite Fascist Convention is where all the best authoritarian New World Order bullcrap is peddled. I'd be more surprised if the CEO of Pfizer wasn't out doing interviews for the WEF. Now, numerous governments crossed the line into almost complete fascism during the COVID fiasco. Even as COVID waned, numerous governments were hell-bent on crushing freedom in their iron fists. Exactly how far might they go the next time in the name of the greater good, the social welfare, the medical necessity? I, for one, didn't bend the knee the first time, and I will not do it the next go-round. The real question is, how many of our countrymen will do it the next time, and how many of them will stand by as the government does as it pleases to those of us who stand firm for liberty? If the past is any indication, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. But I can say, I will not comply. I didn't last time, and I won't again, and I won't be intimidated. There is nothing you could say or do that would intimidate me to comply to your fascist, authoritarian dictates. I just won't do it. And you do what you must, but I will not comply with it. Okay, so what's happened in the schools? We've seen all of the stuff that's been taking place about the bills in Florida being passed, that they can't teach about sexual identity and gender identity and your sexual orientation in classrooms K through 3. I think it should be in even higher grades, but I think the reason, I don't know if maybe they tried to make it into the higher grades and the bill didn't pass, so they had to drop it down to the 3rd grade in order for it to completely pass. I don't know what all happened that made it be those grades that they focused on. But regardless, at least I think that is where you can brainwash children at that age. Once you get to a certain age, they've already been instilled with what they're going to take on into the rest of their life. So you need to get them really, really young. And I think that might be why they focused on these grades for now. However, it's interesting to note, and this is just what we know of through media that has been reported in the media. There's probably many more that the media didn't cover, not to mention many more that have not been brought forward by students or they just haven't been caught yet. But close to 150 school officials were charged with sex crimes against students this year, 2022. So from January to the middle of May, and we're already at almost 150 school officials. So, if you've been living under a rock for the past few months, you might not have noticed the unacceptable rash of grooming behavior taking place in our public schools. But even if you have been paying attention, the number of times we point at example after example after example after example probably doesn't quite put what we're actually dealing with into perspective. Get ready to have it put into perspective, though. According to an analysis performed by Fox News, quote, at least 135 teachers and teachers' aides have been arrested so far this year on child sex-related crimes in the U.S., ranging from child pornography to raping students, end quote. The report breaks it down into demographics. Most of the offenders, 100, are males. Most of the victims, 102, are students, and terrifyingly large portion of the offenders were teachers. This is absolutely, and I don't believe this can be stressed enough, unacceptable. Christopher Rufo spoke to Fox saying, quote, the public school system has a serious child sex abuse problem. The last significant federal study on this topic, which was conducted by the Department of Education in 2004, suggested that millions of American school children are victims of teacher sexual misconduct in each generation of K-12 students, and there hasn't been any significant research since then. This is a travesty, end quote. And this is something that Matt Walsh pointed out, that this happened in 2004 when they did this study, and that they haven't done anything since, and they really didn't do anything previous to that, but that he had been, screaming about this happening in public schools for years, and nobody listened, or no one believed him, no one took it seriously, and now all of a sudden, people are seeing, yeah, this really was happening, and we could have saved a lot of kids the trauma if we had just paid attention. Thankfully, that didn't happen to me. My school years were perfectly fine. No teacher ever was inappropriate around me or to me. Thankfully, maybe I was just fortunate. But I would have had no idea that anything like that was going on, honestly. So I don't know if travesty quite encapsulates just how horrifying these statistics are, especially since the U.S. government has been aware of the issue of child sex grooming in schools for years. Obviously, the problem isn't one the government feels requires intervention. In fact, it would seem that the push for more sexualized education to even younger students is almost an endorsement of this kind of abhorrent behavior. At a minimum, it isn't helping to solve the problem. Our children are falling victim to predators. The education system is failing to prevent from infiltrating the halls of our schools, and it doesn't look as if anything will change anytime soon. Rescue your children. Distance them from those who wish to do them harm. The public schools certainly don't work. So, like I've said again and again, get your kids out of public school. A lot of people have been telling people, get your kids out of public school. It is not a safe environment anymore. It's never really been a safe environment. It's just you were fortunate if you made it through safely. So, it's a really big deal. Hang on one second. I gotta take this off. I have a sweatshirt on, and I'm burning up. Okay. Next thing. I gotta take my headphones off so I can get it off. Okay. Seriously, though. Get your kids out of public school. That's not an article. I don't want to talk about him. Okay. Joe Biden says everybody should be concerned about the recent spread of monkeypox that is leaving experts clueless, by Samuel Mangold Lynette. So I don't know exactly what monkeypox is. I heard it was an outbreak in a lot of different countries in Europe. But it says that I'm not gonna read all of it. But it says that there are currently 80 confirmed cases of the disease worldwide and at least 50 suspected cases. The U.S. has only currently confirmed 2 cases after a man in Massachusetts was diagnosed with the disease and a second man in New York City tested positive for it. The man from Massachusetts is reported to have traveled to Canada before coming down with the disease. Monkeypox cases have also been reported in the UK, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Sweden, Canada, France, Germany, Belgium, and Australia. Reportedly, none of the people coming down with the disease have any travel history to Africa, where the virus is most present. Oyewell Tamori, a virologist and a WHO advisory board member, said, quote, "I'm stunned by this. Every day I wake up and there are more countries infected." The virologist noted that the seemingly large presence of monkeypox in Western countries among people who have not traveled to Africa is perplexing. Tamori added, "This is not the kind of spread we've seen in West Africa, so there may be something new happening in the West." Of course, this is the new election season virus. That is what this is. And they said that the symptoms of monkeypox appear 1 to 2 weeks after the initial infection occurs and involve, this says involve the flu-like symptoms, including fever, headaches, and shortness of breath. After about 5 days of infection, a skin eruption phase begins when a rash starts to appear and often spreads to different areas of the infected person's body. So they said it's kind of like smallpox, but not as severe. I just think that this is the new election season virus. And it wouldn't surprise me that maybe this is something happening from the Fauci ouchies, or maybe this is something intentionally put out into the public to make us sick so that they can allegedly cheat in the new election season. That's going to get deleted off YouTube. Okay. I want to talk about this. I'm just moving along really quickly. I don't know how long I've been recording. I meant to turn on this hourglass timer to time me for an hour, and I forgot. So I'll turn it over now, and about halfway through will be another 30 minutes. So anyway, a church in Florida held an LGBTQ plus conference for children 12 to 18. Now, I don't know what kind of church this is. This isn't a Bible believing, church, clearly, because no real true Bible believing church would have this. This is also by Samuel Mangold Lynette. And it says a church in Naples, Florida, hosted an LGBTQ plus conference for children and young adults aged 12 to 18. The event was held at the Naples United Church of Christ. Okay, there's the problem. And was put on by the Collier County chapter of GLSEN. GLSEN is a national nonprofit organization that, according to its website, quote, was founded by a group of teachers in 1990, play key roles, so that educators could play key roles in creating affirming learning environments for LGBTQ youth. Okay, so this has been going on for decades. The organization focuses on activating supportive educators and conducts extensive and original research to inform our evidence-based solutions for K-12 education. According to its website, the group will advise on, advocate for, and research comprehensive policies designed to protect LGBTQ students as well as students of marginalized identities. The conference's Eventbrite page proclaimed that the event was a, quote, one-day conference that will provide students with the opportunity to engage in LGBTQ-related issues facing them today while empowering them to be confident in all their identities. All their identities? Are they saying all their identities like each child's identity, or one child's multiple identities? Because that seems to be the saying, is everybody has all these little things that make up their identity that really don't make up your identity. They don't make you who you are. They're just a part of you. But they make that their identity. It's irritating. The church's conference held a series of seminars featuring topics like forbidden queer literature, political action and advocacy, and inclusive sex education. GLSN also hosted a drag show from some of our local drag queens and a panel discussion with former high school students talking about life in the LGBTQ community after high school. The Post-Millennial reported that there was some local concern about the event, especially since it appeared that many children attending the conference would be bussed in directly from school without their parents' knowledge. That's the problem. Doing things behind a parent's back. That is not your right. You have no right to be doing something behind a parent's back with their child. Period. And you should be in so much trouble when you do so. If teachers back in my day did that kind of stuff, they would have been in trouble. That kind of stuff just wasn't a lot, at least not where I went to school. I know they would have been in trouble because one of my teachers got in trouble for stuff that happened with me. Nothing bad like that. It was mistreatment of like not allowing me to do certain things because he accused me of talking in the middle of something and being disruptive when in fact I wasn't. And even the students that were actually the ones being disruptive told him, no, she wasn't talking. It was just me and her. And he still denied me from doing certain things, tried to keep me from getting my Letterman jacket that I totally earned for being in band for 4 years. 3 years. And he tried to keep that away from me. And we went to the principal. And that situation was handled. He wasn't fired or anything, but, there were some changes that were made. Some of the stuff I still didn't get back. But regardless, teachers couldn't just do things. And then if you did do it and a student ended up telling their parents, you could go to the principal and it would be taken care of. Anyway, according to a spokesperson for the local school district, Collier County Public Schools, CCPS, the school's facilities may not be used as transit points for the pickup and drop-off of students for this event. Florida's Voice reported that the conference's young attendees were asked to enter their pronouns and provide other personal information prior to registering for the event. The spokesperson said the district was never informed nor contacted about this event. CCPS is not a sponsor of the event, which is being held at a private facility. CCPS also neither authorized nor approved the transportation of CCPS students to and from district school sites by the event organizers. Any inference to the contrary is fully rejected by CCPS. The spokesperson continued, to this end, CCPS has spoken with the event organizer and explained that the information on the registration form and any associated flyer must be immediately corrected to reflect that the CCPS is not a co-sponsor, nor will allow its school sites to be used as transit points for the pickup and drop-off of students for this event. So, doing things behind the parents' back, involving the school when it didn't want to be involved, and it's a church. Now, granted, I think Church of Christ, their beliefs are a little wonky, but regardless, it's a church, and you're doing this kind of stuff on church property. That is something I would never. Look, I don't know. I guess it depends on the type of church you're in. I don't feel as compelled to be respectful outside of it's just private property in like a Catholic church. So like I grew up in church and I wear dresses to church. That's what I've been taught is the respectful thing to do as a woman. When I went to my grandmother's funeral, it was in a Catholic church and I wore pants. And it didn't bother me because I don't look at it, in my opinion, the Catholic religion is wrong. And I don't look at it in the same way as I do the churches that I grew up in. So it didn't bother me to be wearing pants in a Catholic church. And that's what I mean by respecting it. I don't feel that that is a house of God. It's not to me. The types of churches that I grew up in are the ones that are the houses of God because they're the ones that preach the truth of the Bible and they don't add anything to it. They don't take anything away. And I believe that they have the right belief system. And, I know people will say, well, I believe that the Catholics are right. Well, to each his own. You believe what you want. I don't believe that. So I have a different feeling in a Catholic church than I do in, say, an independent fundamental Baptist church, which is what I grew up in. So it's just a feeling that I have. So while I don't believe that a Church of Christ is a real church, they are putting on a front that they are and that they serve and worship God, but they're doing this. And not to mention, outside of it being a Church of Christ, there are Baptist churches that are doing this kind of stuff too, and bowing to the woke mob and inviting, flying the LGBT flag and embracing homosexuality and transgenderism, which is not of the Bible, which is sinful behavior. And so even Baptist churches are doing this, and it's really disgusting, and it's also really bad for not just the church itself, but for the nation, because the churches are what keep people in line and to be moral. This is one reason why you go to church, to learn how to behave in society on a moral ground, and to fellowship with other like-minded people, rejuvenate, get yourself out of the world for a bit, because you have to live in the world. You don't have to be a part of it, but you have to live in it. So you go to church to kind of rejuvenate and get some energy back and get some more positivity back in your life after spending, a week out in the world working and going to the store and dealing with this kind of stuff. Okay, so there's something mysterious going on that the CDC can't talk about. They don't know anything about it. But there's apparently a mysterious outbreak of child hepatitis, and another child, I should say, has died. And, so real quickly, Leon Wolf wrote this. Health officials confirmed on Friday that a sixth child is believed to have died in connection with a child hepatitis outbreak that has swept the globe. According to a report from ABC News, officials are no closer to understanding its cause. Although the outbreak is worldwide, it has had a disproportionate effect on the United States. According to Forbes, the mysterious outbreak of pediatric hepatitis was first identified in Alabama in the fall of 2021. As of now, there are estimated to be 450 identified cases of pediatric hepatitis globally. The CDC is currently investigating 180 cases of severe hepatitis with unknown cause in the U.S. alone. Globally, there have been 11 deaths attributed to the outbreak, and 6 of them have been in the U.S. In addition to the 6 deaths, 15 children affected by the outbreak in the U.S. have required a transplant. Dr. Umesh Parashar, chief of the viral gastroenteritis branch at the CDC, said, quote, "This is clearly a severe disease that we're taking very carefully for that reason, and the proportion of these, despite treatment, do unfortunately die," end quote. Most troubling, officials do not know what has caused the outbreak and have not identified an epidemiological link among the current cases. One theory is that the outbreak is linked to infection with the common adenovirus, which causes common cold or flu-like symptoms. A number of the pediatric hepatitis cases were recently also diagnosed with adenovirus, but the CDC cautions that while the link between the two is being studied, it has not yet been proven. According to ABC News, officials are also investigating whether either prior infection with COVID-19 plays a role, or that perhaps the impact of shutdown measures may be behind the outbreak. Since most children across the country missed some amount of time in either school or daycare over the last 2 years, they have not as regularly been exposed to viruses, and therefore, as schools and daycares open back up, the CDC theorizes that there may be a catch-up factor at play, according to Dr. Jay Butler at the agency. Dr. Butler also indicated that the CDC is investigating whether COVID-19 vaccines are playing a role. That was my first thought. But that the agency considers those vaccines to be really unlikely to be playing a direct role, since most of the children caught in the outbreak are too young to have received the vaccine. Parents who are concerned are encouraged to be on the lookout for signs of vomiting, dark urine, light-colored stools, and yellowing jaundiced skin, and to contact their pediatrician if they witness these symptoms and have concerns about a possible hepatitis infection. Okay. My first thought was, is it vaccine related? Maybe some are too young to have gotten the vaccine, but then we also talk about shedding that they say isn't true. But what if that is real? What if shedding really is real and these kids are around people who have been vaccinated and that's what's affecting it? I'd be very curious to see what the CDC eventually has to say. And also, it really could be this catch-up thing where kids were shut up into their homes, they were masked, so they weren't exposed to viruses and bacteria and stuff, where their immune systems were made weaker because of being shut in and wearing masks all the time. And so now they catch something so easily because of that. That could be a factor as well, because we know this is why you don't prevent kids from going out and playing and getting in the dirt and doing this, putting stuff in their mouth. I mean, some things obviously don't let them put in their mouth, but for the most part, they're toys. Sometimes they eat in dirt, and you shouldn't freak out because this builds their immune system. This is what helps them to let them get around other kids. This is what keeps them from getting sick so much. This is why when you have a kid that a parent protects and overwatches and doesn't let them do certain things, they always seem sickly because they're not getting exposed to things and building up their immune system. You should let kids be kids. So I'd be curious to see what that's about. Okay, Elon Musk. So most of you have probably heard that there was a sexual misconduct allegation that came forward one day after a video of Elon Musk saying that he's never voted Republican, but this election cycle he will. And the very next day, this allegation drops. So, the allegation is from a flight attendant for SpaceX. Actually, it's a friend of the flight attendant who brought this forward. And that she was a licensed masseuse, and that he came into the back room for a massage, and he exposed himself, and he was rubbing her leg, and then he offered to buy her a horse in exchange for an erotic massage, and she said no. He paid her $250,000 to stay quiet. Somehow I feel like if it were true, he'd pay a heck of a lot more to keep somebody quiet. So I don't believe it. This is what the left does to everybody that they want to attack and bring down and ruin their life because of something they're doing that they don't like. So Elon Musk is buying Twitter to give everybody, equal footing of free speech. And he's saying that he's going to vote Republican this year. And they don't like that. So bam, let's pull out the sexual assault allegation. Let's Me Too him like we do everybody else, like Trump and Brett Kavanaugh and all that. Let's ruin his life so nobody will listen to him anymore. And this is how they do it. Sexual assault allegations. I don't believe it. So, the Daily Wire's Ben Shapiro responded to the story by writing, quote, "That amount of money for a settlement of this sort is absolutely de minimis, and everyone who understands corporate law knows this. In other words, when you sue one of the most valuable people on earth and get a settlement of $250,000, that's nearly always just the guy getting rid of something he considers a nuisance, not an admission of guilt," Shapiro added. Musk has warned repeatedly on Twitter in recent days that political attacks on me will escalate dramatically in coming months in response to him buying Twitter. "Watch their dirty tricks campaign against me unfold," Musk added. The flight attendant told her friend that Musk, who is the wealthiest man in the world, asked her to come to his room during the flight, quote, "for a full-body massage," and that when she arrived, he was naked, and that he propositioned her during the massage and offered to buy her a horse. The flight attendant reportedly did not engage in any sexual acts and claims that word began to dry up after the alleged incident. So it says that they encouraged her to get licensed as a masseuse, but on her own time and her own dime. And they implied that she would get to fly more often if she were to do this because she'd be able to give Elon proper massages. I thought that was kind of strange because you weren't hired to be a masseuse, you were hired to be a flight attendant, and if Elon likes massages, then he should just be paying for you to go to a masseuse school, but she was just so happy and eager to have the job and be able to travel. Blah, 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 blah. So the thing is Musk challenged her and said that they were utterly untrue. And so Musk said, "For the record, those wild accusations are utterly untrue. But I have a challenge to this liar who claims their friend saw me exposed. Describe just one thing, anything at all, scars, tattoos, that isn't known by the public. She won't be able to do so because it never happened." I think that's a great challenge. I do. But Musk said that the friend in the story who reportedly gave details of the alleged incident to Business Insider is a far-left activist actress in LA with a major political axe to grind. So I don't know who this person is. I just think it's odd that it's the friend. Man, I cannot get comfortable. My foot's falling asleep. So while we're still on, I want to know what y'all think, if y'all think that this is true about Elon, because I absolutely don't. This is also about Elon. That's why I wanted to keep them together. But Elon Musk goes all in on Russiagate, reports Hillary Clinton to Twitter CEO for disinformation. I think it's hilarious. By Brodigan, it says, if the left thought accusing Elon Musk of sexual harassment was going to bully him into silence, Musk decided to go in a different direction. Musk is all in on Russiagate and wants the current Twitter CEO to mark Hillary Clinton as disinformation. By the way, Elon Musk said that anybody talking about this sexual assault allegation, he wants them to refer to it as elongate. Elongate? Okay, I got it. It was funny. Okay, anyway. Elon didn't quite tweet, "I have news that will lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton," but he's still riding on the edge of a lightning bolt. I know most of you reading know all about Russiagate. In short, it's the investigation that was used to impeach Trump, but not only was it a hoax, it was concocted by Hillary Clinton and her acolytes. Musk responded to Rep. Jim Jordan, quote, "Bet most people still don't know that a Clinton campaign lawyer using campaign funds created an elaborate hoax about Trump and Russia," end quote. Musk linked to a news article about today's trial, where a court heard that Michael Sussman, a lawyer for Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign, lied to the FBI to, quote-unquote, manipulate the agency in order to win the election. We also discovered from Robbie Mook, Clinton's campaign manager, that Hillary herself authorized her team to leak alleged secret communications between Donald Trump and Russia's Alpha Bank to the media. So if you didn't know, now you know. What's funny is Hillary's tweet from October 2016 claiming that, quote, "Computer scientists have apparently uncovered a server linking the Trump organization to a Russian-based bank," end quote, is still up on the Bird app. Some cultures call Hillary's tweet fake news, others call it bullcrap. It's most commonly referred to today as disinformation, and Twitter has pledged to clean up disinformation. A user reported the tweet to HQ. Musk looped in CEO Parag Agrawal and legal policy and trust-led Vijaya Gaddy to help speed things along. Russiagate gets so little media coverage, I'll be honest, I was distracted by other things today and did not know all of this was happening. Musk seems intent on making sure the story gets the proper attention it deserves. Part of it has to do him being a former Hillary donor and not liking to see his donations being used in this way. Part of it has to do with Musk being out for blood after seeing firsthand how dirty the left is. He told us to pop popcorn, start popping popcorn. Yeah, I agree. And I think it's great that he's... Look, there's some things that Elon Musk is involved in that I don't like. Just like there were things that Trump did or said that I didn't like either. You're never going to like someone completely and wholly altogether. There's going to be things they do or say that you don't like. But that doesn't mean that they aren't good people or that they aren't trying to do good things. And I think that Elon maybe he is turning over a new leaf a bit. He needs to get away from some of the other stuff he's involved in, absolutely. But this is a start. And if he's really sincere about it, then it's a really good start, I think, especially for conservatives, so that we can get our voices back out there and stop being shadow banned on Twitter or banned on Twitter or completely, our accounts just completely deleted. And it would be nice that if that happens there, that it kind of puts the pressure on other social media platforms to stop doing the same thing. And it kind of just is this trickling effect through all the other social media platforms. That is my hope. That is what happens. So that way I can speak freely on YouTube. I can speak freely on Anchor. Maybe I can force them to give me my podcast link back. Who knows? But that's what I'm hoping happens. So that would be nice to see. So I'm trusting in Elon Musk to be doing the right thing and to really stick to his word. And if he doesn't, it's going to make me really mad and it's going to be devastating. And then we're just going to have to start being more cautious about who we trust in the future. Anyway, I'm going to leave that here for now. I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned something new. Please look into the WHO Pandemic Treaty if you haven't already. My last episode, I talked about that at the very end of the video, and I think it's worthwhile to look into it and find out what you can do to influence our U.S. delegates to keep from signing that treaty. Because like I said, I haven't heard anybody but Elijah briefly mention it, and I don't know why nobody's talking about it. So I'm going to talk about it, and I think you need to look into it. Also, you really should check out the Institute of Human Anatomy and let me know what you think, because I find it really fascinating. And I want to know if y'all think I'm y'all also find that stuff fascinating, or if I'm just a weirdo. Maybe I should have gone into medicine. Probably not, but maybe. Anyway, I hope y'all have a good rest of your day. Don't forget you can find me on Rumble. Go subscribe to the channel there. That's where they don't get deleted ever. This is why I started uploading on Rumble again, even though it's not as user-friendly as YouTube. But then you can also find me on YouTube. Go subscribe to both of my channels, YouTube and Rumble. Go watch my videos, like and share them. That would be great. You can leave me comments. I think sharing is the big thing right now, they said, for YouTube. So share more than anything to get it going. And also hit the notification bell so you know when I upload new videos. And I hope you have a good rest of your day, and God bless.